Welcome to Healing Through Dentistry podcast,
where we redefine health, wellness, and the power of your smile.
We're your hosts,
Hana
and Eva, twin sisters, qualified dentists and medical doctors.
This is more than a dental podcast.
It's a journey into profound connection between oral health and whole body healing.
Through personal stories, inspiring client transformations, and expert insights,
we explore how dentistry can ignite energy, relieve chronic pain, and transform lives.
Get ready to discover the extraordinary ways your smile can heal, inside and out.
Let's begin. Welcome to the next episode where we are sharing our client stories, and we love to share client stories, so let's begin.
So today I'd like to share my client who was having issues with her gut and issues with breathing, with her lungs. And I'm sure a lot of people might appreciate this discussion because you might have a similar symptoms. So this lady comes into our office. She is in her late 20s, almost 30 years old. And she started to share her story when she was 10 years younger. And she started to study in London, the UK. And she remembers it very well because it was quite a difficult and challenging time for her health-wise to be there for several reasons. So first of all, she was having issues with her tooth, which was the lower right molar. And she described that she needed a root canal. But she described it in a way that she saw a dentist and he did it several times. And it was very, very painful. And she was supposed to, fly away for, a year on Erasmus in London. And she was, kind of stressed that she needs to leave and everything was going wrong. So she went and see him several times. He kept opening the tooth. It was hurting her. And then at the end of the day, they decided to keep the tooth open and she left to London. So that's where she was. And then she then recalls how her gut issues and how her lung issues have suddenly deteriorated. She obviously, we as a human, and I believe also there's always a multifactorial reasons. So she said she was a young student. She didn't really eat that well. She was living in a small apartment with full of carpets, like years and years and years old. You probably ever remember from London how small flats there can be and how, especially in the winter, how, the heating and everything is just like, it may be, old buildings. So it may be very damp and very, like old as well. So she said that she was having a very severe gut issues. She said she stopped eating then gluten and dairy, which helped, but a little bit. She said that it was that bad with her breathing that she needed to sleep with open window even in winter because she was just coughing and she couldn't breathe properly. Anyway, fast forward. And also she mentioned a very stressful wisdom tooth removal. And I was like, when I was listening to her, obviously I'm just saying this in a nutshell because this was like discussion for like 25 minutes. And she was sharing her story, but I'm just going to try to repeat what she was saying. But I do remember that she was also having a stressful wisdom tooth removal because she did go to a hospital. Someone suggested that she needs wisdom tooth removed. And so she went to the hospital, but then it turned out that she was in a faculty hospital where there were young dentists or like trainees. And she remembers still now how it was difficult for one of the, young dentists to remove the tooth. And then she was very swollen, like the wound wasn't healing properly. She remembers the swelling was really big. Anyway, so fast forward, she comes over to our office. Then she's like, this is 10 years later. She managed her problems, gut issues and breathing issues slightly with the diet. She started to study Chinese medicine as well to help herself. So she's doing a Chinese medicine, herbs and acupuncture, and she doesn't eat dairy. She doesn't eat gluten. However, she is aware of, still problems, and she heard us ever on the podcast, and it was making her a sense because she remembers still the traumatic experiences, and she's got a gut feeling that there's something about the teeth which is holding her back. And when we took the x-ray and the 3D scan, three-dimensional image, we did see that that was a root canal on the lower right, which obviously all of the root canals have. You see it so clearly on a 3D scan. You might not see that on a 2D image, right? On, the classical one, but on a 3D image, it was just so obvious how much of the bone resorption and infection there was. But also in a wisdom tooth area where the wisdom tooth no longer obviously was, because that was removed years ago, there was a massive cavitation. And what is cavitation, Eva? Maybe you just help me.
Yeah, so the cavitation is the condition which happens when the body is not strong enough, doesn't have building stock to repair after extraction. So meaning when you don't have supplementation, you don't have minerals and vitamins to restore, rebuild, then the area becomes cavity, like cavity, empty space, which is colonized by bacteria, viruses, parasites. And it's fascinating when you send these samples to test what you can find, what toxicity you can find in these areas. So, and it's very hidden. So people, they don't know that there is any issues, but they have systemic conditions like your client she had. And I'm listening and I'm just thinking, you're describing the lung meridian. And I wonder whether she was dealing always when she was helping herself with the herbs of Chinese medicine and acupuncture, whether she had to look after the lung meridian or whether she was disbalanced later on, totally. Because once weak is weak, then, the body has to have other reactions. So, and it's been 10 years. So
what I didn't actually say, her worry was also that she said she's got a massive chronic fatigue.
yeah.
She's not even 30 and she's got a chronic fatigue. What does that mean? A young person shouldn't be tired that much that, she describes it as a chronic fatigue.
And, this is what I have to many times explain to clients, because the inflammation, chronic inflammation, infection, hidden infection is placing you into sympathetic mode, which is, if you imagine that you're working all the time, you don't have the time to rest. You don't have the digestive and relaxing time, which is parasympathetic mode. So you appear to be in a fight and flight mode all the time, not knowing that. And this is the infection. This is how the body is securing you, making it better. However, it's working all the time. So that's why the body is depleted of energy. And also it's the energetics which are connected with wisdom teeth. According to Chinese medicine, we see lots of clients having a great time after the cavitation is removed in terms of energy, joy, self-confidence. It's impressive what they experience.
It's funny that you're saying that, because this is what exactly happened with this young lady, because we didn't jump into the surgery right away. I explained everything. She's kind of, she acknowledged it. But then I said, if you like to, we can try like a quick test. It's called a Prokind test. It's a local anesthetic, which, it's called neurotherapy. And to certain extent, it can show you, it unblocks the meridian and it shows you how you can feel. So I said it's simple. I'll give her a little bit of local anesthetic and then she's just gonna monitor, she's gonna observe herself what happens. And it was incredible with this lady. I just love this story because we always, like, our team calls to the client the very next day because it's important. Most people would just forget what's happened after 2 days, but if you call them after first day, they will just tell you the story. I always just say to our clients, please write down what you experience. It doesn't necessarily need to be physical. it can be anything, your reaction. So I've got some clients describing me that, I went to my grandparents and we usually snap on each other or whatever. I get annoyed. But this time I was just, so relaxed and I responded so well. And, I was full of energy and big heart. And so, and for this lady, it was really fascinating because she comes over for some treatment, I think some fillings later on. And she's literally storms into the room and we can't recognize her. We're like, what's going on? And she sits down and she said, you wouldn't believe it. And we're like, what? You wouldn't believe it. And we said, well, you tell us what happened after the protein test. And she goes, how she described herself that she's very shy. She said, I am that kind of a girl who sits in a corner and I'm really shy. I've got difficulty to get connected to people. It is difficult for me to approach someone, to say hi or to make new friends. And she goes that afternoon when she's had a protein test, the very same afternoon, she suddenly has had an urge to call a friend who she hasn't spoke to for like half a year. And obviously there was something. So she goes, I called her. It was very, very beautiful telephone call. We talked a lot. They needed to discuss something. They obviously discussed it. And she said she was so happy that she's had the courage actually to do so. Also, she said that she lives in a small village. There's a couple of restaurants. And she said, so what I did, I went to our small pizzeria and I was just like, say hi to everyone. I started to talk to people and I was surprising myself. She was in awe. She surprised herself how confident she was. So that was quite interesting. And she said, I'm in for the surgery because this is the bronchitis is it always just gives you a little view how you can actually feel. We always say to our client, it can be this or even more. It's like that. Look at Husky behind you while sleeping.
Yeah, it's a good frequency here. So she's on her back.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I see that too, Hannah. It's so beautiful to see people really feeling themselves. So whether it's like if they have some limitation in their back or knee or arm or shoulder, it disappears very quickly, like in seconds. Or, for instance, today, it brings people joy, joy
yeah,
and laughter.
so that lady
And
you
they
told.
kind of relax, like, kind of, oh, I feel like, light and I want to laugh. I was like, okay, so just smile and laugh. This is you. So it's beautiful to see how much, physical things. And we kind of have to talk about it in this podcast because I think it's very important to talk about these topics. Nobody would tell you behind the scenes. And I think this is something which is so unknown for many people until they experience themselves. So I believe it's important to say the other stories of our clients to encourage other people to just look what would help them. So, beautiful stories just to try the protein test, even though if you're not ready for more things for the moment, and you have a little sign and your body would tell you what to do later on. Because within the surgeries, Hannah, it's beautiful too. You're removing the infection, which lots of clients, maybe most of the clients, they don't even know they had such a huge inflammation because the inflammation is destroying the bone. It's resorbing the bone, destroying the bone. The bone is disappearing by the infection, which is taking over. And they tell me, oh, I just experienced like very big relief in my sacrum, So it's just, and it's connected according to Chinese medicine to sacrum, that tooth, upper. But it's fascinating for me too, to see the transformations. Even people after we remove the inflammation, they say the energy goes through all my body, the left side, So I love also to ask clients what they feel. when we do the surgery.
That's true. We're giving them permission to actually talk about even weird stuff, right? So the lady
Well, not talked about stuff, not weird,
Yeah.
because this is like, everybody, it's trapped emotions. It's just fascinating. They tell you stories. Okay, I have a story of my mom. She did this when I was 7 and the guy is 49, So
Yeah.
yes, it's
Yeah, but
interesting.
people in general wouldn't, expect
Talk
that the
about it.
dentist
Yeah,
would
yeah.
ask them about, I don't know, how they cried or how they were
Yeah.
angry or how they joyous
Yeah.
suddenly or whatever. But let me just finish this story because obviously we did the cavitation, we did the zirconia implant, and what happened, that was beautiful too, because this client, she comes over after the second day. So we do the first day preparation, IVs. The second day is the surgical day again, the IV goodies, we call it, neurotherapy, also homeopathics, minerals, vitamins, and everything what is supporting the body through the surgical day. And then she comes over the third day. And again, she's rocketing in. She just like storms into the room. We're like, who's that? Because we don't recognize again her, personality. Like the whole personality has changed. After the first day, she was like, I was on fire. I just wanted to, clean my flat and whatever. And then the second day, the third day after the surgery, she came over so joyous because, first of all, she was over excited that she had no pain, no swelling, and no problems. Because in her mind, again, old trauma, old memory, obviously, her brain was tricking on her, obviously, just saying, what if you're gonna be having so much issues like after the first wisdom tooth removal. So kudos to her that she was so courageous to do it again, because she must have been so trustful in us, because she's had swelling, she's had so much problems after the first wisdom teeth removal. And so when we did the cavitation, we obviously need to open the area, clean it, ozone it, and then we use plasma, which is made from her blood, to insert into the spaces for healing. And so she was over the moon. She rocketed in the room. She said her energy levels are just crazy, and she's just so grateful. She brought us a present, and she was just so joyous and very, very, very surprised. There's no swelling, no pain, and she feels okay.
And I have to say kudos to clients, because this is not for everyone, I have to say, because this is for people who are willing to change their lifestyle, because we go gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, seed oil-free, caffeine-free, and alcohol-free for 2 months. Very strict. Adding the supplementation, which is a protocol, which is quite a big amount of supplements, minerals, vitamins, and detox supplements. And I always admire clients who are putting, themselves first, and they say, okay, let's do it this way. They see value in this information, and then they have such a beautiful story like this client. It's just beautiful to witness these stories and transformations of clients. Yeah.
And I'm
very grateful for that.
Yeah, me too. And I can't wait for this story to unfold, because obviously this was about a couple of months ago. So I'm going to see her in 2 months for a crown to put on the zirconia implant. And so I can't wait for her stories regarding her, gut issues and lung issues improval. And I'm sure there are going to be some. Okay, so that's for today. Thank you for listening, and can't wait to share some more stories later on.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for joining us on Healing Through Dentistry podcast.
We hope today's conversation has inspired you to see your smile as the gateway to whole body well-being.
To stay connected, visit us on our website or follow us on social media.
If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who could benefit.
Until next time, remember, healing starts with a smile.
Take care,
and we will see you in the next episode.